Throughout history, there have been ships that vanished without a trace, only to be found drifting at sea, completely abandoned. No crew, no explanation, just a mystery. These are the ghost ships that continue to haunt our imagination. The Mary Celeste is a real ghost ship that to this day no one can explain. She was discovered floating off the Azores Islands in 1872. At first, everything appeared normal, but the longer the rescuers stayed on board, the more they realized that something very strange had happened here. The Mary Celeste was a commercial sailing ship built in 1861. She was named after Captain Benjamin Briggs' daughter. His wife, Sarah, helped him run the business, which specialized in trading alcohol and fruit. On November 7, 1871, Captain Briggs set sail from New York for Genoa, Italy. The ship was carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol and a few barrels of wine. There were also 4 crew members on board, along with the captain's 7-year-old daughter and 2 other children. The Mary Celeste was scheduled to arrive in Italy on December, but she didn't show up. Her owners began to worry and sent out a rescue ship to find her. The crew of the rescue ship found the Mary Celeste on December 4, 1871. She was drifting at sea, completely alone. The rescuers boarded the ship, but they couldn't believe what they found. There was no sign of a struggle, and nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. All of the crew's belongings were still there, as were the personal belongings of Captain Briggs and his family. Even the captain's dinner was still sitting on the table. But where was everyone? As the rescuers began combing through the ship, they started to find some very strange things. For example, the lifeboat was missing from its holder, even though it was a calm sea and no one had tried to bail out water. In fact, there wasn't even any sign that anyone had been in the lifeboat. As they continued searching, they found a blanket in the captain's cabin with a mysterious brown stain on it. When they went down into the cargo hold, they found several barrels of alcohol were leaking, which may have contributed to the smell. But this didn't explain why the crew had abandoned ship. They then searched the entire ship for survivors, but no one was anywhere to be seen. The only people on the ship were a dog and a cat, both of whom seemed very well fed. They didn't seem scared or distressed by the absence of their human counterparts. One theory is that the crew members all died of alcohol poisoning. Maybe someone got drunk and accidentally opened the wrong barrel. Industrial alcohol isn't meant for drinking, but if it had been sitting on the ship for a while, maybe it had fermented and become poisonous. Perhaps the captain's daughter and the 2 other children were taken off the ship by pirates. Or maybe they all jumped into the ocean and the crew decided to abandon the vessel. But we don't know for sure. What do you think happened to the Mary Celeste and her crew? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe. Next, the Octavious. In 1775, a British merchant ship called the Octavious became trapped in ice near the coast of Greenland. The men aboard prepared to spend the winter at sea, but they never made it. When the ship was finally freed from the ice, there was not a single living person on board. The ship's cabin boy was just 13 years old when he signed on to work aboard the Octavious. His name was James Peacock, and he would be the only survivor. Or rather, he would be the only survivor if the story was true. There are actually 2 versions of this tale. According to the first, the ship was traveling from London to Quebec when it became trapped in ice. The crew made camp on the frozen deck and spent the winter there. By April 1776, the ice had melted and the ship was free to continue its journey. But when the crew went below deck, they realized with horror that every single one of them had frozen to death. Only young James survived. and he managed to keep himself alive by huddling in the captain's cabin with the dead man's wife. The second version of the story claims that the ship was caught in ice near the coast of Norway. Again, the crew spent the winter on the deck, and when they went below deck in the spring, they found that they had all turned to skeletons. But here's where things get weird. According to legend, the crew had written messages in bottles during the winter and tossed them into the sea. They hoped that someone would find these bottles and alert the authorities to their dire situation. But when the ship arrived in port, it was obvious that no one had come to rescue them because no one had found the bottles. This was impossible since the bottles had been tossed into the ocean months before. James was the only survivor to make it to land. He stumbled out of the ship and alerted the townspeople to what had happened. But they didn't believe him, thinking that he was crazy. Soon, he was committed to an insane asylum where he spent the rest of his life. Some people claim that the story of the Octavious is based on a real event, but there are no records of such a tragedy. Others say that it's simply a fictional story that has been passed down through the ages. Which version do you think is true? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. The Phantom Ship. On August 4th, 1890, the crew of the bark Lochiel sighted a phantom ship sailing through the Strait of Malacca. They watched as the mysterious vessel sailed right through a sandstorm. Not only that, they could see right through the ship, as if it were made of glass. The crew of the Lochie waited until the ship had passed, and then raced to reach it. But the phantom ship was nowhere to be seen. They searched for it for 2 whole days, but they didn't find anything but more bad weather. Then on August 6th, the crew of the Lochie spotted the ghost ship once again. They followed it for a bit, but soon they noticed that it was heading straight for a reef. The Lochie sounded an alarm, but when they got close to the reef, they saw that the phantom ship had disappeared. They found an open lifeboat and lifebuoys waiting for anyone who may have survived, but they found no one. These days, many people believe that the story of the phantom ship is nothing but a hoax. But back in 1890, people were terrified. It seemed as if a ghost ship was haunting the waters, appearing and disappearing at will. But here's the thing. This wasn't the only time such a sighting occurred. Between 1870 and 1910, sailors witnessed the ghost ship numerous times. Each time, they claimed that it was a massive vessel made of black marble that looked like it had been carved from a single block of stone. Some said that the ship was propelled by giant oars, while others claimed that they saw ghostly crew members rowing furiously. And every time the ship was sighted, someone died. Either the people on board the ship watching it, or people who boarded the ship after it had disappeared. Is there any truth to these stories? Maybe. Or maybe they're just myths that have been told and retold over the years. From the Mary Celeste to ships swallowed by storms and time itself, these mysteries remain unsolved. Which ghost ship do you think hides the darkest secret? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Join us next time for more mysteries the world still can't explain.